Welcome back to Etheria Restart. Today I'm here taking a look at Viper, one of the best buff strippers inside of Etheria Restart, and an SR at that, used in endgame content. Today, I need to thank Etheria Restart for sponsoring the video, and if you guys have never played before, if you're curious about the game and you're just wondering if you should dabble, I'm telling you that you definitely should. Use the QR code right here or my link in the description. Gets you 10 free summons inside of the game. Now, to go through Viper, I have my friend Hermes with me today, and he's gonna basically be our expert, guiding me throughout my account as well as you on yours. So Hermes, let's talk about Viper a little bit. I've had Viper on the account for a while, but recently you were starting to suggest that we start utilizing him a little bit more. Let's go through about, why do you like Viper so much? Obviously, he's an SR, which is valuable. Just start taking us through.
Yeah. So I think obviously you've already gotten to like the first big point with him, which is that he is an SR character.
Mhm.
As many SRs as you can use in this game, the better, right? They might not necessarily perform the 100% best compared to some of the SSRs or the light dark units in this game, but with the lattices that you're able to use being a lot cheaper, a lot easier to get, it makes a character like this become a lot more valuable because oftentimes you're able to invest a lot more into a character like Viper as opposed to some of the other strippers, such as Holden or characters like that you might not have all the lattice for. So I think this is really good, like you're saying. Just an SR character is always awesome. And I know I kind of spoiled it a little bit as well, but he is a really good buff stripper who's used in a couple different places in endgame content. It might even be good in this new shell boss that we've had come out as well, which is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we're going to do some demonstrations. Once that shell boss is active, we can start sharing some of that. Everyone can take a look. But for now, let's actually go through his kit. Do you want to start with the S1 or the S3?
Yeah, let's start with the S1. We'll go because again, his power really comes in on his other abilities. But this is still one of those good, I would say, a very good ability considering he is someone who's going to need a lot of that effect accuracy. He is still very useful. So he's able to do two hits, and it's always good to think about when you're looking at any Animus's kit, looking at how many hits they do, because a lot of times, you will have abilities that will be able to do hits on both of their abilities. Now, obviously, with him, when you read his kit, he only has one chance on the second hit, which is, it kind of stinks a little bit, but it's all right, which is he has a 20% chance to inflict a one-turn silence on the target enemy, which is really good because it means that enemy can only use their S1 ability, which is honestly a very good ability. Problem is, it's such a low chance that it makes it hard to use.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay. What about this passive, and why? First of all, I guess my bigger question is, why aren't we throwing any lattice into this S1?
So I think the big reason for you why you haven't thrown any lattice into that S1 is that unfortunately, like what I've seen on your account, and we have a conversation about this, haven't farmed as much of the GP outposts as you need to,
Hmm.
and so you're not able to put full lattice investment into him. This S1 is very valuable. So you see that other thing, that buff that he has, that serpent skin.
Hmm.
At 4 stacks, when the passive is triggered, it switches from consuming all stacks and uses the scale slash to counterattack. And you'll see that scale slash is actually his S3 ability. So basically, as you use his S1, you're able to build up to basically do an extra of his S3 ability.
Gotcha.
So that's really good to use as well. And as you level it up, it becomes more valuable for you and what you're using him in. It's just not worth it right now to make that investment because of the content he's being used in. And spoiler alert, the big one is Aurora Inferno. And for Aurora Inferno, you don't need these abilities really maxed out in order to make him be valuable and a useful part of the team
Hmm.
and do his job. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you don't need to make the investment right now, you don't need to max out a character if you don't need the max investment for them to do their job, you know?
Yep. Makes total sense. I appreciate the breakdown. All right, let's take a look at this passive then, the shifting scales.
Right. So this one is really, really interesting because it is a damage mitigating passive, which is really good. So anytime they take damage from a crit, it reduces that damage by 24%, and when an ally is attacked, he has a 9% chance to counterattack with that Savage Fang,
Mhm.
which is that S1 ability, which also then stacks up his ability to do an additional attack of the S3. So all these things kind of work together, right, in his kit. And when an ally receives a critical hit, that chance is increased to 40%. Now, that counterattack ability can only be used once per turn. What that means is that basically when he takes his first turn, that resets, right? So he takes his turn, an enemy goes, crits your ally, he counterattacks. He can only counterattack one time in between his turns. Now, as you see on this one, the lattice do improve the chance of counterattacking, which can be very valuable. And again, he is someone that is worthwhile to make that investment in, especially as you use him more throughout the game and use him in more buff stripping areas, because he just gets around to that buff strip a lot faster. But for you, where you are, you didn't need him to be maxed right now, so you're not maxing him right now.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it depends on the content that he's needed, and if the max is needed for that content to be successful, then we'll invest there. If not, we could save it for another Animus. All right, let's take a look at the at your favorite then, Scale Slash.
Yes, Scale Slash. This is a top tier ability, at least in my opinion, with a lot of very good debuffs. You see on that sidebar with attack down and speed down.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see when we got into it, it's a really good ability. So he does an AoE attack with a 75% chance to dispel two buffs and a 65% chance to inflict a decreased attack and decreased speed for 2 turns. That is a crazy good ability. And the reason why is a lot of these Inferno bosses, if not if not all of them, will start off with an immunity on them at the start of the round. So you're able to then go in, Terra Matan and Aurora specifically, and you're able to strip that immunity. Then you're putting up decreased speed to slow them down. And you're also putting up then a decreased attack to make sure they don't do as much damage to you, combining that with his damage mitigating passive. And in general, this is a crazy good Animus. And they combine that also with the fact of how many times he's counterattacking and then getting extra attacks of this S3. He's going to be buff stripping like crazy left and right and all over the place.
No, I love how you broke that down. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's take a look at his modules and see how you recommend we build him out. Obviously, we're looking at Swift Rush. We seem to always look at speed with Swift Rush, but you also got some Time Weave and Ether Plague on here. Nice Ether Plague piece.
Yeah. So the big thing with his kit, again, like you're saying, it's the speed and effect accuracy are his two biggest stats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you look at that Ether Plague, the reason why, though, there's two reasons why you have that one. Obviously, number one, it provides more effect accuracy
Mm-hmm.
and it gives that HP bonus, which is nice. The other reason why, though, is because of the shell that you're currently using on him, you cannot get a Swift Smite piece on him that gives increased accuracy and increased speed. And so, or a percentage speed on both, on speed and accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just using the one that has increased accuracy and then increased HP to get him a little more tanky. And as you already kind of spoiled it, Gigabyte, I think, is a great shell to use on him to really get him boosting up. Obviously, getting some damage mitigating ones on him is also good. So, getting like a lighthouse and animus like that is also going to be valuable on him. But I think a gigabyte is a great option because you're able to cycle back around to all those turns, especially after an enemy counterattack. He has to counterattack an enemy, then he gets back around to his turn faster to make sure he resets that, and then just keeps it going again and again and again.
And before we close things out, where are your favorite places to utilize him inside of the game?
So I think the number one place for him is going to be Aurora. He is incredible and almost required in Aurora, I think is a great one.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the upper tiers as you get further into the game and you push into Inferno, he is not viable really at all in a place like Terra Matan. When you're super early game, like if you're just starting out and this is one of the first SRs you're building, you can use him in earlier game, Terra Matan. He is bad affinity for it, so he will have some penalties. But if you're very early game, you can use him there just to strip the buffs that his side adds do apply to him. I think another good place is going to be this new Chloros shell boss
Yeah.
because that he starts with immunity and gets a lot of immunity throughout the battle. And so if you're able to strip that off, put out some decreased speed because he is very fast, and also put out decreased attack, it will make it a little bit better. Although I guess he's based off defense, so you don't really care about the decreased attack. But the decreased speed and the buff strip are both going to be really important for that shell boss as well.
I appreciate it, Hermes. Thanks for breaking it down. It's always nice to know how, especially with an SR, for a lot of people that don't have all the SSRs, or for some of us that don't want to do all the investing, which ones could actually be really valuable inside of the game. And now we know best buff stripper SR inside of the game-ish is Viper. Appreciate you coming through, man. Thanks to Etheria Restart for sponsoring the video. And if you guys haven't played the game, consider using the QR code or link in the description to get yourself 10 free summons. We'll see you guys in the next video.